So, Animal Crackers is an animated film that. Here's the thing: like this film has like an interesting assembly, like it has an interesting idea going for it. Like I like this idea that these magical animal crackers can turn you into whatever they're shaped as. So you eat like the elephant cracker, you turn to the elephant, and then there's like a human cracker, you eat that, and then you turn back into a human. I like that idea. Um, I just feel like I mean like that's an interesting like magical thing you could have in like a Harry Potter film or something like that. But then in trying to figure out something to do with it, Animal Crackers kind of finds like a little bit of like a family element to it, but kind of just like surface level. And it's kind of weird because it tells like a pretty intricate story, of like of family and business and trying to decide what's more important and putting relationships ahead of work. Like it seems dense in its assembly, but not really all that, but not much under the surface, unfortunately. So like after we follow like a whole like long lineage story about coworkers being at odds with each other, the film eventually settles on the character of Owen, voiced by John Krasinski, and he's basically been in love with the circus his whole life, and he wants to grow up to be in the circus, and he ends up marrying Zoe, who's voiced by Emily Blunt, and they end up hooking up together, but the thing is, like, Zoe's father, Mr. Woodley, who's voiced by Wallace Shawn, so of course, you have the short-fused Wallace Shawn voicing a villain, obviously. He thinks that you know what, circus isn't right for my daughter. Tell you what, you can more or less marry my daughter if you come and work at my dog biscuit factory. And his job there, Owen's job is basically just eating dog biscuits. Like that's the extent of his job, just eating dog biscuits. But he wants to prove himself. He wants to invent a fancy new dog biscuit that'll be the hit of the market. But he keeps on getting sabotaged. But it's weird because you think like, okay, maybe that would be like the main story, I think. But then no, once we go back to the circus, and then we finally learn the secret of the animal crackers after Owen's uncle is apparently caught up in a fire and suspected dead. And after that, he gets the animal crackers, and apparently there's a villain who has been seeking them by the name of Horatio P. Huntington, and he's voiced by Ian McKellen, the great Sir Ian McKellen. You might have noticed there are a few big names here. There's a few big names here in the cast, and I say like few, as in like they're notable. You've heard of them. You've heard of Ian McKellen, Danny DeVito. You recognize instantly as the clown Chesterfield. Man, it's the second film he's been in a circus, I guess, since Dumbo. You have Sylvester Stallone playing a Bullet Man, kind of a nothing role, a little bit. He's one of those like characters doesn't have much to say, and then in the climax finally says something. Raven Simone as Brinkley. Here's the really interesting thing. You have Patrick Warburton playing Woodley's assistant here, and he's basically. Patrick Warburton is essentially playing a character who's kind of like Kronk from Emperor's New Groove. He's the big muscly guy, but he's super, super stupid. But don't worry, they didn't name this character Kronk. They named him Brock, so that you think of Venture Brothers. Oh, man. Then you have Gilbert Godfrey in a voice you recognize. There's Tara Strongs in a voice you'd recognize. But the thing is, like, the whole plot is essentially just, deciding what to do with the animal crackers. I mean, Owen discovers the animal crackers, isn't sure how they work, and he's terrified that he's going to be stuck as whatever animal cracker he eats. And then, Chesterfield explains, no, look, it's simple. This magical box gives you the human cracker, and you can transform back whenever. And it's basically just, at first it's like, let's save the circus, because Owen figures, I can just eat the crackers and I can be whatever animal I want, and then we can perform all these cool stunts, and we don't have to worry about animal cruelty. So you don't have to worry about that because the humans are now the animals, I guess. So Horatio basically wants to control his own circus, so he seeks out the animal crackers. And it's kind of unfortunate because, aside from some element of like, putting family ahead of your work, there's not a whole lot to the film past that. Like, by the time we get to the third act, it's all just about the animal crackers and how many funny things you can do with it. Like we figure out that, oh, if you only eat like half the animal crackers, you can only be like half the animal or something weird, strange like that. Um, and there's not really much more to it than that, and I kind of wish there were, because I do kind of like how they assemble these characters here. Like, I do like how Owen's kind of enduring. He's kind of got that snark that kind of Krasinski kind of had in The Office. I do. Ian McKellen always performs as a great villain. Danny DeVito's always a great side character. Especially, he brings a lot of exuberance to this role. Like DeVito at this point in his career seems like he could just settle for like kind of like less loud roles, but he throws himself into this role, I think, pretty well. Patrick Warburton's fine, Wallace Shawn's fine, Gilbert Gottfried, they all pretty much do what you expect. But the villain of Horatio is really not that interesting past, like, just a desire to rule his own business. And I kind of wish there was more to the film than that, because I like the premise and I like these characters, but it just kind of takes it and just kind of finds slapstick antics. Like, by the end of the film, we're just watching characters transform into random animals and just bickering and fighting with each other in this kind of like slapstick showdown. And yeah, it's kind of disappointing that you have this big cast, and the animation's not too bad either. I mean, it's nothing to like to write home about. I mean, the designs kind of look fairly bland in most of the way that they're assembled here, but it's well lit. I think it's I mean, the budget here is only about like 17 million, and it looks pretty good just for that amount of money. Like, it's got good lighting. I like the models are functional enough. There's enough like variation between them. The animation's not too bad, and it's not surprising either that this film was directed by Scott Christian Sava and Tony Barcroft. Tony Barcroft actually has quite a bit of experience as being an animator. He's worked in a few films, so you can kind of see that. Yeah, this is definitely kind of like, more centered towards like animators finding fun stuff to do with characters turning into different animal creatures, and it is kind of fun watching Owen transforming into all these creatures, and then watching his daughter kind of react to them in like an excited way. Like, I really dug the way they set up the daughter here. The daughter's reactions feel very genuine. She feels like how a kid would react to seeing something like that. So I kind of adore that aspect. So, like, I'm so conflicted about this film. Like, great characters, great idea with animal crackers that turn you into animals. It needs somewhere to go with it. It doesn't go anywhere other than like a few slapstick antics. Like the characters I mentioned, they're all fine in terms of their arcs, but there was never really like a breakout moment that I felt like they really shined. It's just like I said, like Warburton, Shawn, Godfrey, they all pretty much give performances you expect, and like there's something comforting about that, but then there's also, it's, you kind of want more from something like this. So I wish there were more to it. I mean, it's not like the worst animated film I've ever seen. It's got some decent writing here and there. The characters are great, but needs something more. It needs. I think it needs like a better theme to go over it rather than just, family and business, because that seems to be established pretty early on, especially since we get a pretty lengthy prologue to set this all up, which I don't really feel that we need. So yeah, I think this film could have benefited from a much more cohesive theme that could have been better explored rather than just everyone scrambling to get these stupid animal crackers. So, animal crackers. 2.5 out of 5 stars.